the forgotten timeline of planet Earth before and after the Great Flood. The Deluge, that is. This is on Humans Are Free, Alexander Light. Are humans really a species with amnesia? Is it true that there's a forgotten historic timeline of our planet? A timeline ignored by mainstream historians? Or what some call forbidden archaeology? According to several theories and historical records, the answer is yes. Interestingly, numerous cultures around the globe speak of a time when our planet was struck by a great deluge, which the gods themselves called upon the earth and early man. But where does the story of the Great Flood come from? Many people are completely unaware that the story of the Great Flood, the deluge, as the Anunnaki called it, has its origins in ancient Sumer, and we read about it in the Old Testament as well. To understand their accounts, we need to travel to Eriu, modern-day Abu Sarain in Iraq, the first city ever established by the gods and home to the ancient Sumerian deity Enki. Researchers believe this ancient city was built around 5,400 BC, that's about 7,500 years ago. The ancient Sumerian king list supports the theory that suggests Eridu was in fact the city of the first kings, and this is what it stated. After the kingship had descended from heaven, the kingship was in Eridu. In this ancient city we find the Eridu Genesis, an ancient Sumerian text, and it describes the creation of the world, the construction of all ancient cities, and the Great Flood, which swept across the land. The Eridu Genesis, which is believed to have been composed about 2300 BC, is the earliest known account of the Great Flood, predating the more popular Great Flood described in the biblical book of Genesis. This is where many researchers have different views. According to Thorkelid Jacobson, in his book The Treasures of Darkness, quote, after Ninhursag had decided to turn man from his primitive nomadic camping grounds towards city life, the period began when animals flourished on earth and kingship came down from heaven. The earliest cities were built, were named, had the measuring cups, emblems of a redistributional economic system allotted to them, and were divided between the gods. Irrigation, agriculture was developed, and man thrived and multiplied. However, the noise made by man in his teeming settlements began to vex Enlil sorely, and driven beyond endurance, he persuaded the other gods to wipe out man in a great flood. Enki, thinking quickly, found a way to warn his favorite, one Ziusudra. He told him to build a boat in which to survive the flood with his family and representatives of the animals. End quote. But if the Great Flood did exist on Earth, what happened on Earth prior to the Great Destruction? According to the Cosmic Code, the sixth book of the Earth Chronicles by Zecharia Sitchin, this is the historical timeline of our planet before and after the Great Flood. These are the events before the deluge, the Great Flood. 450,000 years ago, on the planet Nibiru, a distant member of our solar system. It's not another solar system, it's our solar system, it says here. Life faces slow extinction as the planet atmospheres erode. Deposed by Anu, the ruler Alalu escapes in a spaceship and finds refuge on Earth. He discovers that Earth has gold that can be used to protect Nibiru's atmosphere. 445,000 years ago, led by Enki, a son of Anu, the Anunnaki land on Earth, established Eridu, Earth Station 1 that is, for extracting gold from the waters of the Persian Gulf. 430,000 years ago, Earth's climate mellows. More Anunnaki arrive on Earth, among them Enki's half-sister Ninhursag, Chief Medical Officer. 416,000 years ago, as gold production falters, Anu arrives on Earth with Enlil, the heir apparent, it's decided to obtain the vital gold by mining it in southern Africa. Drawing lots, Enlil wins command of Earth's mission. Enki is relegated to Africa. On departing Earth, Anu is challenged by Alulu's grandson. 400,000 years ago, 7 functional settlements in southern Mesopotamia include a spaceship, Sipar, a spaceport, Sipar, mission control center, Nippur, a metallurgical center, Shurupak. The ores arrive by ships from Africa. The refined metal is sent aloft to orbiters manned by Igigi, then transferred to spaceships arriving periodically from Nibiru. 380,000 years ago, gaining the support of the Igigi, Alulu's grandson attempts to seize mastery over Earth. The Enlilites win the war of the golden gods, the olden gods. 300,000 years ago, the Anunnaki toiling in the gold mines mutiny. Enki and Ninhursag create primitive workers through genetic manipulation of ape women. They take over the manual chores of the Anunnaki. Enlil raids the mines, brings the primitive workers to the Edin in Mesopotamia, and given the ability to procreate, Homo sapiens begins to multiply. 200,000 years ago, life on Earth regresses during a new glacial period. 100,000 years ago, climate warms again. The Anunnaki, the biblical Nephilim, to Enlil's growing annoyance, marry the daughters of men. 75,000 years ago, the accursation of Earth, a new ice age begins. Regressive types of man roam the Earth. Cro-Magnon man survives. 49,000 years ago, Enki and Ninhursag elevate humans of Anunnaki parentage to rule in Shurupak. Enlil, enraged, plots mankind's demise. 13,000 years ago, realizing that the passage of Nibiru in Earth's proximity will trigger an immense tidal wave, Enlil makes the Anunnaki swear to keep the impending calamity a secret from mankind. Events after the deluge. (11,000 years BC), Enki breaks the oath, instructs Zeusudra, Noah that is, to build a submersible ship. The deluge sweeps over the Earth. The Anunnaki witness the destruction from their orbiting spacecraft. Enlil agrees to grant the remnants of mankind implements and seeds. Agriculture begins in the highlands. Enki domesticates animals. 10,500 BC, the descendants of Noah are allotted 3 regions. Ninurta, Enlil's foremost son, dams the mountains and drains the rivers to make Mesopotamia habitable. Enki reclaims the Nile Valley. The Sinai Peninsula is retained by the Anunnaki for a post-diluvial spaceport. A control center is established on Mount Moriah, the future Jerusalem. 9,780 BC, Ra or Marduk, Enki's firstborn son, divides dominion over Egypt between Osiris and Seth. 9,330 BC, Seth seizes and dismembers Osiris, assumes sole rule over the Nile Valley. 8,970 BC, Horus avenges his father Osiris by launching the first Pyramid War. Seth escapes to Asia, seizes the Sinai Peninsula and Canaan. 8,670 BC, opposed to the resulting control of all the space facilities by Enki's descendants, the Enlilites launched the Second Pyramid War. The victorious Ninurta empties the Great Pyramid of its equipment. Ninhursag, the half-sister of Enki and Enlil, convenes a peace conference. The division of Earth is reaffirmed. Rule over Egypt is transferred from the Ra-Marduk dynasty to that of Thoth. The Heliopolis is built as a substitute beacon city. Thoth, I guess, are they relating to Thoth the Atlantean? Because Thoth supposedly lived, he wrote them after the flood. He wrote the Emerald Tablets after the flood. He was an Atlantean, he claims, and he even had space travel. He had the advanced knowledge of the Atlanteans, of interdimensional travel, time portals, stargates. He had a spaceship. He was able to travel around the world and to other planets. And supposedly he has a spaceship, according to the Emerald Tablets that we read. You can find them on my playlist. That his spaceship is found under something that he describes as a sphinx and in a plain of pyramids in ancient Egypt. Now, 8,500 BC, the Anunnaki established outposts at the gateway to the space facilities. Jericho is one of them. 7,400 BC, as the era of peace continues, the Anunnaki grant mankind new advances. The Neolithic period begins. Demigods rule over Egypt. 3,800 BC, urban civilization begins in Sumer as the Anunnaki re-establish there the olden cities, beginning with Eridu and Nippur. Anu comes to Earth for a pageantful visit. A new city, Erech, is built in his honor. He makes its temple the abode of his beloved granddaughter, Inanna or Ishtar. And to read more about the detailed version of these events, you can have the link here. Kingship on Earth after that. The kingship on Earth. 3,760 BC, mankind granted kingship. Kish is first capital under the aegis of Ninurta. The calendar began at Nippur. Civilization blossoms out in Sumer, the first region. 3,450 BC, primacy in Sumer transferred to Nanar or Sin. Marduk proclaims Babylon gateway of the gods. The Tower of Babel incident, the Anunnaki confused mankind's languages. His coup frustrated, Marduk-Ra returns to Egypt, deposes Thoth, seizes his younger brother Dumuzi, who had betrothed Inanna. Dumuzi accidentally killed, Marduk imprisoned in the Great Pyramid, freed through an emergency shaft, he goes into exile. 3,100 to 3,350 BC, the years of chaos end with the installation of the first Egyptian pharaoh in Memphis. Civilization comes to the second region. 2,900 BC, kingship in Sumer transferred to Erech, to Uruk. Inanna given dominion over the third region, the Indus Valley civilization begins. 2,650 BC, Sumer's royal capital shifts about. Kingship deteriorates, Enlil loses patience with the unruly human multitudes. 2,371 BC, Inanna falls in love with Sharu-Kin or Sargon. He establishes new capital city, Agate, Akkad. Akkadian Empire launched. 2,316 BC, aiming to rule the four regions, Sargon removes sacred soil from Babylon. The Marduk-Inanna conflict flares up again. It ends with Nergal, Marduk's brother, journeys from South Africa to Babylon and persuades Marduk to leave Mesopotamia. 2,291 BC, Naram Sin ascends the throne of Akkad. Directed by the warlike Inanna, he penetrates the Sinai Peninsula and invades Egypt. 2,255 BC, Inanna usurps the power in Mesopotamia. Naram Sin defies Nippur. The great Anunnaki obliterate Agate. Inanna escapes. Sumer and Akkad occupied by foreign troops loyal to Enlil and Ninurta. 2,220 BC, Sumerian civilization rises to new heights under enlightened rulers of Lagash. Thoth helps its king Gudea build a ziggurat temple for Ninurta. 2193 BC, Terah, Abraham's father, is born in Nippur into a priestly royal family. 2180 BC, Egypt is divided. Followers of Ra Marduk retain the south. Pharaohs opposed to him gained the throne of Lower Egypt. 2130 BC, as Enlil and Ninurta are increasingly away, central authority also deteriorates in Mesopotamia. Inanna's attempts to retake the kingship for Erech does not last. The fateful century. 2123 BC, Abraham is born in Nippur, or Ur. 2113 BC, Enlil entrusts the lands of Shem to Nanar, Ur declared capital of the new empire. Ur-Nammu ascends throne, is named protector of Nippur. A Nippurian priest, Terah, Abraham's father, comes to Ur to liaison with his royal court. 2096 BC, Ur-Nammu dies in battle. The people consider his untimely death a betrayal by Anu and Enlil. Terah departs with his family for Haran. 2095 BC, Shulgi ascends the throne of Ur, strengthens imperial ties. As empire thrives, Shulgi falls under charms of Inanna, becomes her lover, grants Larsa to Elamites in exchange for serving as his foreign legion. 2080 BC, Theban princess loyal to Ra, Marduk, press northward under Mentuhotep. Nabu, Marduk's son, gains adherents for his father in Western Asia. 2055 BC, on Nanar's orders, Shulgi sends Elamite troops to suppress unrest in Canaanite cities. Elamites reach the gateway to the Sinai Peninsula and its spaceport. 2048 BC, Shulgi dies. Marduk moves to the land of the Hittites. Abraham ordered to southern Canaan with an elite corps of cavalrymen. 2047 BC, Amar-Sin, the biblical Amraphel, becomes king of Ur. Abraham goes to Egypt, stays 5 years, and returns with more troops. 2041 BC, guarded by Inanna, Amar-Sin forms a coalition of kings of the east, launches military expedition to Canaan and the Sinai. Its leader is the Elamite Kedor Laomer. Abraham blocks the advance at the gateway to the spaceport. 2038 BC, Shu-Sin replaces Amar-Sin on throne of Ur as the empire disintegrates. 2028 BC, Ebi-Sin replaces Shu-Sin, the western provinces increasingly to Marduk. 2024 BC, leading his followers, Marduk marches on Sumer and thrones himself in Babylon. Fighting spreads to central Mesopotamia. Nippur's Holy of Holies is defiled. Enlil demands punishment for Marduk and Nabu. Enki opposes, but his son Nergal sides with Enlil. As Nabu marshals his Canaanite followers to capture the spaceport, the great Anunnaki approve of the use of nuclear weapons. Nergal and Ninurta destroy the spaceport and the errant Canaanite cities. 2023 BC, the winds carry the radioactive cloud to Sumer. People die a terrible death. Animals perish. The water is poisoned. The soil becomes barren. Sumer and its great civilization lie prostrate. Its legacy passes to Abraham's seed as he begets, at age 100, a legitimate heir, Isaac. Alexander. The Anunnaki eventually accepted Ra Marduk as Earth's supreme leader and decided to retreat into the shadows. There are hybrid Anunnaki human descendants who were left in charge. The wars for supremacy continue to this day. Now, sources: Ancient Code, Bibliotheca Pleiades, and this is by Humans Are Free. Creative Commons, and this is on Humans Are Free, and I'll leave a link below for you for this. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.